What version of the Bible should I read? Great question. So as you can imagine, especially in English, there are lots of different versions. And every version has their pluses and minuses. So some versions are more word for word based on the original text, original language. And the original language is Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. Those are the three languages the Bible was written in. And so some translators, they want it to be very close to the wording of the original language. So sometimes, as you can imagine, it's a little bit harder to read that way. Now, there are other versions of the Bible that they have a little bit of a different philosophy. They feel like you just want to get the essential idea, the big idea. They summarize things a little bit better, or they modernize their examples a little bit more. So they're less accurate in the sense of not as word for word, but more like concept for concept. And then in between you have everything across the spectrum, as you can imagine. So there's no real right or wrong version you can use, but it's just kind of based on what you prefer. So if you want something that's easy to read, you might want to try these concept versions. So these concept versions are things like the Message. Yeah, that's one. That's very easy to read. Or the New Living Translation. That's very easy to read too. And then over here, more word for word, you have things like the New American Standard. You have the King James Version of the Bible. And then in here, you have things like the New International Version or the English Standard Version. So you kind of see, give it a try what you think you might like, and see if you would read it. I think one great test is if it's too difficult and choppy to read, maybe you need to go to something that's less word for word accurate and maybe kind of in between. And if that's too difficult to read, maybe you can try the more concept for concept type of translations. And you'll get different things based on what you read. Things are going to be a little bit different because anytime things get translated, there's always something that's lost, So I hope that answers your question when it comes to which version of the Bible you want to read. And I would also say that you will probably want to stay away from the cult versions, okay? So there are a few cult versions out there, and a lot of people who don't know better, they might they might stumble upon something and get their hands on that. And cult versions are such where they actually change very big concepts in the Bible to suit their own biases. So one example of a cult version is the New World Translation that's produced by the Jehovah's Witnesses. And we can get into Jehovah's Witnesses at another point. But suffice it to say, just kind of be careful what you're reading. And if you're not sure, feel free to message me and I'll do my best to help you out. So I hope that helps.